thing though. Like I bring, I welcome it, but I'm not offended by my own gas.
Should be.
Changing flavors.
What up? What up? What up?
Good day, hip hoppers. Welcome to the virtual world of Five Deep, where five rapscallions from around the world congregate in a local pub once a week to have a chit chat. We haven't named the pub that we're currently vacating in at the moment, but we've all got a drink in our hands. Guys, say cheers.
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 Namaste, motherfucker.
So there we go. How are we doing, guys? For you at home that are watching us, thank you very much for joining us once again. I hope you have had a very fantastic week. If you've got any questions or anything like that you'd like to put in, do so. We're going to be talking about vulnerability and transparency in men, because that was something that was brought up last week. We've been having a bit of a chin wag in the group this week. Shit has kicked off. We've had not arguments, but heated discussions at the beginning of the week. But it's all been good, guys, isn't it? Does anybody want to jump in and tell me of their experience? Lee wants to say something. Go on, Lee. Go you head.
Yeah, I now identify as invisible. I am transparent, and my pronouns are who and where.
Okay, fine. Howard is currently at. He is currently down at Mother Ivy's Bay in Cornwall. I didn't even know he was coming over to Cornwall, but he is currently located in Mother Ivy's Bay in Cornwall. And now we have the ball kicker, aka Harmony. She has just arrived. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, Miss Garcia.
Hey, I was going to try to do it from home, all my stuff set up, because I recorded a podcast last night, but I'm out working. What can you do?
I haven't had a chance to listen to your podcast yet, but I will do. Is it actually been released?
I recorded it last night. It's about 20 minutes long. It's longer than I thought it was going to be, so I still have about 10 more minutes to edit.
That's what she said.
It's called War of Self.
You see, you're showing more of yourself. Is that what you said?
War with a W.
Oh, sorry.
Right, motherfucker.
Well, we're all here, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. I just wanted to just say something quickly, that we are currently in the middle or the start of the World Cup. We call it football over here in the UK. You call it soccer. And we just so happen to be in the same group this year. It is Iran, it is Wales, England, and United States of America. And today, we played Iran. We won 6-2. And I just seen that Wales played America and they drew 1-1. Harmony, how do you feel about that result? America versus Wales. I suppose you didn't watch the game at all?
I didn't, but I should have, because there's a lot of pretty people in Wales in general. A lot of pretty men. No, I love Wales. I'm a little bit partial, and I'm not a big sports person. So, if I were going to root for anybody, it'd probably be Wales.
Are you watching the screen there, Harmony? I know you're concentrating on your driving, but do you want to see? Do you want to see something really? Do you want to see something really funny?
Sure, I'm stopped.
Right, I know where he's going.
Right, Howard, walk to the door and back. Turn your camera off blurry mode. Turn your camera off blurry mode and walk to the door and back. Just for shits and giggles before we start talking about transparency and vulnerability. I mean, you got to be a bit more transparent and a bit more vulnerable. Go on, just do it. Just for me once. I don't ask so much, do I?
No. That is a no.
Does he have a kilt on or something?
No, he just looks really, really, really small. He looks like Wee Man.
How about a no?
To apologise. We got Rodney that looks like
You're lucky, wee man. Surprise, motherfucker.
Anyway, this is crazy. It's crazy.
Have hand the Rodney.
we're showing our vulnerability tonight. We've had a little bit of a chat, and like I said, we've been talking about transparency and vulnerability. And the first question I am going to ask the group, and I don't really care who answers, but do us guys have problems expressing our feelings? Who wants to start off?
Yes.
Would you like to go any deeper than that at all?
I was waiting for you to follow up.
Go on then. Go on.
See, there's the example made. Big, profound answer. 3 letters. Yes.
Why do we have problems expressing our feelings there, Howard?
As I explained in the Voxer group, for me, it's because that's how I was raised, is that a man does not express his feelings. He holds it in. That's part of being a man, quote unquote, manly, if you want to say that word. And if you're going to express your feelings, you do not, under any circumstances, do it to your wife or do it in front of your wife. You do it to your male friends, your acquaintances. Expressing your feelings to your significant other is a sure way to ultimately end the relationship.
Wow. I can just say wow to that. That's you. That's you over in Texas. What about Rodney in Connecticut? Do you feel that us men show our feelings there, Rodney?
Depends on what feelings you're talking about, because we don't have a problem expressing ourselves when it comes to like politics and for a particular athlete or a team. We can really get all emotional about certain things, but as far as being vulnerable, yeah, that's a tough one for men, because it's not air quote manly to do. So, it's as simple as that for me. And you have to learn how to do it and learn to be trusting of people, because if you've been raised frightened for so many years that if you show vulnerability, there's some kind of boogeyman at the end of it.
So growing up on the streets there, Rodney, would you be classed as being weak if you showed your vulnerability?
100%. Yeah, you definitely, you pretty much fought for everything. We fought for a space on the playground, a space on the baseball field, space on the football field, depending on where you were at. So you always fought for everything. And, fighting was considered a sign of strength, when I probably think the opposite now, where now it's more, not fighting it takes a little bit more strength not to, fight, as opposed to just hauling off and punch somebody. It's easy for me to just haul off and punch somebody.
Right. Okay. Lee, over in the UK, you disappeared. The circle of doom appeared on your screen, and we've let you back. I take you wanted to come back because you was hiding in the background there. Do you feel that you personally, do you feel that us guys in the UK, or you in the UK, do you feel that you struggle to, you struggle to show your feelings?
No. No. Although I did have an idea. We discussed this last week. I did have an idea of what I thought the way things were, but actually my mind is changing slowly. But I think blokes do express their feelings very differently, very like a short, sharp thing. We tell as it is, and then we expect or we generate, manifest, create a result, and then we move on. So do we do it effectively? Probably not. But I think we're getting better at it. I don't know if that's a prerequisite in society nowadays. I don't know. But no, I don't personally struggle with it.
No, I do and I don't. Sometimes I find it really easy to share my feelings with people. It can be people that I've never even met before. Do you know what I mean? I can bump into somebody and I just feel that I can really, really tell them everything. And then there's other people that I really, really do struggle with, that I just feel that, I can't open myself up to. And, I do find that I'd pick and choose who I open my feelings up to. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but Harmony, I mean, you know us in the group very well, and you know men very well. How do you see the difference between men in the UK and men over in the States for feelings?
I wouldn't even, you guys know how I feel about blanket statements. I think that they are recipe for disaster. I wouldn't make a blanket statement about men in the US versus men in the UK. I think it's situational. And I, just like you just saying, there's people you can open up to sometimes and people that you can't. And I think that's not bad or good. That's just how you are. I think really you're probably a good judge of character, which is why some people you are able to open up with and some people you're not, because you know that, it's actually a very healthy thing. I think that if we we're not able to discern who we could open up to and who we couldn't open up to, it puts us in a position for getting our feelings hurt, because we know kind of intuitively if we're paying attention, well, if I go to this person, they're going to be very, they're going to be a good ear. They're going to be warm. They're going to be, receiving. They're going to be kind. They're going to be loving and compassionate, non-judgmental. If you're paying attention, those are the people that you want to open up to more. And it's the people that are, somebody said it, I've said it before, bubble busters. Somebody put it in our Voxer group. People that that are just going to be critical and be unsympathetic. And, I think it's very situational per person. I don't think it's a UK versus US. I don't think it's all men. I don't think it's all women. I think it's very situational, like moment to moment almost,
Yeah. I mean, last week we at the end of the last week's podcast, not Harmony. Can't get my words out tonight. Howard said that he thought it would be nice to talk about men and vulnerability and transparency, and we kicked it off big time Tuesday morning last week. I think Lee said something, and I think I said something, and I think everybody was conversing, and then it's been quite stale and a bit quiet in our group for a while now. But Harmony come in and she kicked off. And then all of a sudden, the room it was just like we opened the floodgates. Everybody was kicking off. So would you like to talk a little bit about that, Harmony? What you said, and did you want to say that, or do you want to keep it personal?
I mean, really, that's up to you guys.
No, go. I'm happy. If everybody else is happy, I've got enough. I'm transparent. I've got nothing to hide.
I think that I was in a mood very clearly.
No.
But also, God, I really don't even know what to say about it. I think I was feeling full transparency. I was feeling a little bit of disconnect. I was in a space for whatever reason. It's probably a multitude of things that I was feeling kind of isolated. I was feeling a little lonely. I was processing a lot of information, and I was feeling like not necessarily a victim, but I was feeling like, I guess I took the fucked up way of getting to a statement that is, I need more from you guys. And I think that, and that doesn't necessarily mean live on YouTube. Maybe it just means in Voxer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as you guys came trickling in and responding, I didn't mean it was that you guys are never vulnerable. How I should have worded it, and if it wasn't packed with so much emotion, I would have probably articulated it this way, is that there's things that I sense that you guys could be more vulnerable about, even if it's just privately in our Voxer group, that are kind of getting skipped over. So there are a lot of things that each of you are very vulnerable about and have been since, the beginning. But there's a lot of things, and rightfully so, that are going on. I think what I was trying to communicate is I intuitively feel, and I could be fucking wrong, I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again, is I feel like where a lot of the growth can happen for you guys individually, just based on what I know of you and what I've been hearing you talk about for years, is the stuff that you're not getting vulnerable about. Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay. And
And
you guys all obviously know I meant all of it with love.
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, it's been one of those weeks where, and I love this, it's been one of those weeks where we've been talking behind the scenes and everybody's been throwing their 2 pence in. And when somebody says something about you, straight away, it's like you've just received a kick in the bollocks. And then you're like very on the defense. And it's very, very easy to come back full guns blazing. But what I've been doing in the last week, since I've been on my trying to lose some weight, is I've been doing some meditation every day, and it's made me, it's made me a little bit chilled out and a little bit calmed, and made me look at myself when those situations arise. So when people say something that you don't want to hear, rather than straight away getting your fists up, your guns up, and going on the full defensive, stop and look at yourself and say, right, okay, well, I'm going to listen to what I've just put, and I'm going to listen to what they say again, and then reassess the situation. And I will be honest with you, showing full transparency here, that the discussion that we had at the beginning of the week has helped me out no end. It made me make a lot of decisions that I've been pondering for the last 2 or 3 months. It's made me think and look at myself, and it's made me address what I'm going to be focusing on, full focus for the next 6 months. And I kind of felt that the discussion that we had worked 100%. And I would say that I'm probably 60% been more transparent in the last week than what I have in the last 6 months. So how? Go on, Rodney.
No, I would say that so the purpose of the group, in Voxer, is for us to push each other. So I don't think anybody has any problem with that inherently, and being pushed and being asked the tough questions, because we built a relationship over the last 3 years. I mean, if you think about it, it was like a time on Christmas. We're in there singing Christmas songs, and we're just all kinds of goofy shit, and all kinds of personal stuff. So I think I probably was the first one to kick off after Harmony left, like 28 minutes of like
Ass kick.
all up in your, like 28 solid minutes straight, so all up in your ass, So I think I was the first one to, and I didn't object to the message overall. I objected to the sentiment or the feeling that she had, that she didn't like know us, So that's where I was like, man, I thought we were really on a different level. But that doesn't mean that there's not more. That doesn't mean that when she says, hey, been vulnerable, but there's stuff that you kind of glance over. So that right there, like she said, if she said if she said how she said it today, it would have probably elicited a different response from me. But the way she said it and how passionate she was, it was like,
He's gone.
Oh, Jesus.
Howard, how do you feel with your brand and the business that you're building? Do you feel that you are 100% transparent and vulnerable at all? Or what do you think you're rocking at the moment in that world?
I feel I am. Yeah, I know it. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine, Mom.
Yeah, my computer's been going crazy. So, yes, I feel that I've been transparent. There is everything that I've told you guys everything. This is what I explained in the Voxer chat. Yeah, I mean, in terms of sorry, Sam, mother-in-law's trying to put Sam to sleep, so he's getting mad. So
she'll be in a minute.
No, she's cool. Yeah, I feel like I've been transparent. There's,
but
I mean, anything that I'm asked, I'll give you an example. So when I was on Hussein's podcast, when he interviewed me live, and then I went into like how I lied to my wife for the very first year. And I think that in part is part of like a lot of the issues that we're having, in part, not all of it. I can only put blame on myself. I can't read her mind, so I don't know what's going on with her. But I've told you guys all about that before, and I have no problem explaining it. So, if anybody has questions, I'm always try to be as open as I don't purposely try to lie or anything like that or hide anything. So
I think with your brand and your business, it is very, very important that you are transparent and vulnerable, showing your vulnerability, because, for people need to see the issues that you've gone through, the mistakes you've made, the how your life's been really in the past, and the reason why you set up your business because of your past.
Exactly. So I'm only assuming, but I assume that other men, since we were talking about men being vulnerable, and from my experience, other men wouldn't talk about, well, I lost half my body weight and weighed 80 pounds for 15 years. I'll give you an example. When I did that, the first thing they thought of was, oh, you got to have cancer. And I've been told this by the doctors. They said, if you were a woman, the first thing we think of is eating disorder, because you don't think of like eating disorders with a man, you associate it with a woman. Now,
Yeah.
later on, I was like, hey, do I have an eating disorder? And then I went to psychologists, went to psychiatrists, went to counseling for it. And they said, no, we don't think you have an eating disorder. You got something other medical going on. But that's just an example of it. So, but yeah, I have no problem talking about, hey, I weighed 80 pounds. The guy that I was on the YouTube channel with, Nick Bear, he had an eating disorder. He talks about it in his channel. He actually he was hospitalized for anorexia, and he almost died from it when he was a teenager. So that's why I was telling him in that YouTube clip about how I weighed 82 pounds and everything, because that was something I related to him on. And so, yeah, I have no, you're right. It is part of the story, is that, what I had to do to try to get back to health. And I want to pass that knowledge and my experience on to other people who may be suffering from something similar.
Lee, have you ever been to a counselor, or have you ever been have you ever been to a counselor? And I'll move on to the next bit in a second.
No.
Do you feel that it is it something that you would dismiss?
Yes.
Why would you not go to a counselor? Because personally, I've been to a counselor. I've been to, and when I've had issues in the past, and I found it really, really nice and easy to talk to this counselor and tell her my problems and have a neutral person help me out. Why do you feel that you wouldn't? Well, I'm not going to say why you wouldn't open up to a counselor, but why do you feel that you wouldn't want to go to a counselor?
Because I think that systems, people like that are very scripted. They're very, they run through a checklist, and it doesn't matter who you are and what issue you go to them with. They try to tackle it systematically using this checklist, using a procedure, and it doesn't work. I think they need to inject some humility, some empathy, and you don't get it. And after a while, and much like teachers, they become part of a system, part of an entity, and they, behave a certain way. They use certain types of language, and they talk in a certain manner. And secondarily to that, and whether you guys, would be aware of it or not, I've got access to 4 of them already. So anything I need to discuss, anything I want to talk about, I come to the group, because there's more realness there. There's more empathy. There's more, not necessarily sympathy, because I don't think sympathy is a bit of a weird one, because if you sympathize with people, you buy into their bullshit. So that's probably not the right word, but there's a lot more human there. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but I see a counselor or a therapist or somebody like that. I'm intrigued to what you just said there, because being a coach is somebody that people go to talk to get the best out of themselves. And I'm interested to see where you come from on that point of view, because when people have got issues in their life and they want to address those issues and better themselves, they go to see a coach. And they tell their problems, and they have a sit down with a coach, and the coach helps them out and gives advice and stuff like that. And that is very much what a counselor or a therapist does. Now, I might be wrong, but that was the first thing that came to my head when you said no. I was a little bit, surprised by your response. I think, go on. Yeah, I think I can see Harmony's brain ticking over there, and I got a feeling that she wants to say something. Am I right, Harmony?
Yeah.
I think
well,
there's
first
a
of all,
fundamental.
I'm gonna preface this with there's two things about this that I wanted to point out. I was going to actually say it made me feel so emotional. Do we want to save it for the Harmony's War Cry at the end of the show? So as somebody who's been in school for mental health, my degree's in human services, if there's anything at all things beat into your brain the entire time, and if for some reason it doesn't matter, you make A+ the entire time, got a 4.0 GPA. If you don't tackle these two things as somebody in that program, you're out. Those two things are confidentiality. They're very important. Pillow talk is a pass, so you are able to talk to your spouse. It's legit, a legitimate free pass. But the other thing is it's imperative, and actually, I wouldn't say it's required, but you get kind of read between the lines what they say when you're in the program itself, that if you're going to be a mental health helper, social worker, counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever it is, coach, whatever it is however you label yourself, which by the way, all of those things are very different. Psychologist is different from a psychiatrist. So those are all different from counselors. Counselors are different from coaches. There's no they to it. In any capacity, I don't give a shit what we're talking about. There's no they. They does not apply. Every person on the planet is individual. But the other thing is, it's imperative that you get therapy. It's imperative that as a helper, and you making your life's work about helping other people and taking on their shit, it's very suggested throughout the entire program, and it's brought up at least once a day in every class, that you have a therapist yourself. And it's because you're taking in so much shit every day. That's your job. If your job is a social worker or a helper of any kind and you don't have any help, it's a recipe for disaster. And so that's why, and then this is a third kind of like, I can amend my first two with this third one, which is, by the way, a very big pet peeve of mine. I feel like it's ignorant, and I say this with love, to say that you don't like anything, or you have a theory around something, or a hypothesis or whatever around something that you've not experienced. So if I say, hey, you like oysters? Fuck no. Well, have you ever had one? No. Okay, well, how do you know you don't like it? It's like that. It's kind of like ignorant, and it really that, coupled with the importance of having a beginner mindset, which you guys know is one of my favorite books, called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mindset by Shunryu Suzuki. That book was I think everybody should read that book or listen to that book, because it really taught me the importance of never, ever getting to a space. I don't give a shit if I get my PhD in something, but really understanding the importance of never getting to a place where I think I fucking know everything. And the best answer we can get, especially about something that we've never experienced firsthand, is I don't know. So the best answer Lee could have given is I don't know. I can't hypothesize that question mark, because I've never been to a fucking therapist. And also, it's very important. You can't one therapists. I hope I didn't lose you guys. It's important to shop around, just like you would for a good mechanic, a good hairstylist, a good doctor, GP. Like, you have to shop around and match up with somebody. So I feel like that's a hard question to ask, first of all. And secondly, it's hard to do a blanket statement. That's my rant. I think I lost you guys.
Yeah,
No, it's cutting in and out.
Yeah, you just.
Did I lose you guys?
Yeah, you cut in and out there a bit, Harmony, but we kind of got the gist of what you're saying there. And Marta, she's come in there and said as well that, she's got a degree in human services as well. And she seconded what you said there. And she was thinking the same as, as a life coach, I was surprised at the response. Social workers need to see their own therapist. So would you like to come back on that there, Lee, at all?
Well, they're two different things then. Sure,
What do
we
you-
could distinguish the two different services. You know, I would advocate that a coach should always have a coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would agree with that completely. But are we not distinguishing two different things here?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I mean,
we
how
are.
many's
That-
right, how
that's-
many right? I probably should have said, don't know, but I see it as one of them is, and I could be wrong, but one of them is talking about the past. The other one's dealing with like progress, the future.
You're shaking a head
That's
there.
I do see a distinction between the two. My uneducated, conclusion on it.
Well, it did come through the two things that I said were triggering me about his answer, right? Did those two things come through when I was almost lost you?
Yes, you did.
Confidentiality and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
importance of any helper having its own helper. That having a best friend down the pub Friday night doesn't count. You've got to have somebody that you can go to spit out your shit. And therapy is not about the past. And that's the third thing that I amended with is it's not coming from a place of growth or wisdom in this life experience to say no to something that we haven't firsthand experienced. So that was the third thing I said.
I will take a bit of responsibility on that because I probably didn't give a great question there, because I said to Lee, would he consider seeing a counsellor? And then I compared a coach and a counsellor and a therapist all under the same thing, which was wrong. So I kind of think that I might have, misled Lee there with the question. And then Lee's come back and said, well, he would see a coach and he sees a coach. I get where you're coming from there, Lee, but I'm still, I'm still a little bit puzzled why you would say you wouldn't see a therapist or somebody like that.
Because I don't think I need to.
But how do you know you don't need to if you've never been and seen one? That's a bit like saying that's a bit like somebody saying that plays professional golf, that I don't feel that I need to see a coach to make myself any better.
Yeah, I because I get coached and I continue to, get coaching off you guys. I coach myself. So I do, I take my own medicine, but I still think there is a distinguishing factor between these three things.
Okay.
So if I was a therapist, like Harmony said, then I would have therapy. If I was a counselor, then I would have counselling, because it's, it goes round in circles. But I'm not those two things. I'm pursuing what I'm doing as a coach. So I continue to, coach myself and find coaching. And so, why do I not think I need it? Well, because the path that I'm on, I'm getting everything I deserve. I'm getting everything I want.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm, dealing with shit it's not that I'm not dealing with shit. I am.
But how do you know that your past that you've come from that may have troubled you is not holding you back from your future? Because you haven't spoken to somebody about it.
Yeah, but then look, we're splitting hairs, aren't we?
Are we?
Yeah, because I'm pretty happy. I don't claim to know everything. I don't claim to have the perfect life, but I'm living a life that's always progressing. It's always going forward. Now, you're asking like, what? How can I put this? It's an open-ended question. I really can't answer it. But it's not like I'm, in turmoil about, my dad left me when I'm 2. I'm not.
All right. Well,
It's not a question that I need answering.
Let's break it down then. When a man turns 40 years of age in the UK, so I believe, we were always asked to go to a doctor for a health check. Now, there may not be anything the matter with anybody at the age of 40, but they still went for a health check to check that everything was all in order. right? So wouldn't it be okay to go to a therapist or a counselor just to get a yearly checkup to check that you're all right mentally?
If you want to, yeah.
He's not buying it.
Go on, Howard,
No,
jump.
no.
Howard's
quick.
got his-
Mark, you made a really good point about the golfer, and it made me think. Like even the star quarterback of an NFL team has a trainer and a coach. You know, just because they're fucking made it to the NFL and they're the quarterback for whatever random football team, constantly to sharpen their skills, and they're under the awareness, unless they're cocky asshole, which I'm sure at that point they understand they have to continue their training if they want to continue their sport and be on top, to be sharp. And that applies to everything. And I think it's a standard quarterback knowing that, yeah, I might have made it and I might be the star quarterback for said team, but I still have a lot I can learn, and I still have things that I can enhance and ways that I can grow my physicality, my mentality when it comes to being on the field with my teammates. And I'm sure, you sports guys in here will agree that was a good point to make, Mark, because I think it's important that just check into Dr. Gabor Mate. He's running the circuit right now. His whole kind of situation that he's sharing right now is all about the importance of our past and what a big role that plays in who we are today, whether we know it or not. Most of us are stuffing our shit, but I just feel like it's important that everybody at some point, doesn't mean you have to talk about everything, but there's things that I won't bring up right now that I know Lee has talked about that are very triggering to him, that if he were to go talk to somebody about it, he might be able to make some sense of it,
Yeah. Before I move on to you there, Howard, I just want to quickly jump in by saying, if I went back 20 years ago and said to myself that I would be sitting down every day and doing at least a 10-minute meditation, right, I'd have fucking laughed at myself, right? But now, age 45, I'm sitting down every day and I'm doing some meditation. And I started that with no issues in my life. But I will tell you that for me is some sort of therapy that I have learned so much about myself just from being part of it. So that's the reason why I would never rule out therapy. And that's one of the reasons why I'm considering going to some therapy at the moment, just so that I can learn something about myself that I possibly didn't know before. But Howard, you had your hand up there. Do you want to say something?
I forgot now. No, just joking. Well, I forgot some of it. But yeah, with the not wanting to see a therapist. Now, I know in speaking for myself, that goes back to what I said at the beginning, was that, I've been told by older men when I was younger that you hide your feelings. So, oh no, I don't need a therapist. I don't need that. That would, if people found out I was going to see a therapist, then all of a sudden they would think less of me. At least that's what I had the mindset of. But, up until, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I was seeing a therapist. Yeah, I'm in the process of changing a therapist now, but I've enjoyed it. I mean, enjoyed it in a way that somebody who's I have no family ties with or anything like that just listens. And going back to what Lee and they were talking about, they do get your history, yeah, because they have to know your history and why you're there in order to lead you on a path of where you should go in the future or help guide you. But I also agree with your analogy of using the sports in a trainer. I mean, I was into bodybuilding. Right now, everybody's hyping up in the bodybuilding world for the Mr. Olympia. All the top people have trainers, and they train. It's even these people have been lifting the majority of their life to build the muscle they have. They have trainers that help them with their diet, with their training. So yeah, it was a great analogy that you brought up, Mark. But I would just say, Lee, it's hey, if having your coaches and having the connections that you do, if that's working for you, why change what's not broken? But yeah, just going what everybody else said, that don't discount therapy just off of the top, unless you try it. What's the worst that can happen? You go to a therapist, you try it, and I don't like it, and you don't go back. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's very important what Harmony did say there, before we move on there to Howard, is that there are lots of different types of therapy, counseling, all of the above. Like you said there, if you don't like something, move on, because there's plenty of other ways. It's like when you get back pain, you can go and see an osteopath, you can go and see a sports masseur, you can go and see a chiropractor. There's loads of different people you can go and see about an issue until you find somebody that you really, really are comfortable being with. So, there's loads of people that you can go and see. If you're a male that you feel that you're struggling with issues, you don't need to go and see what they used to call a shrink. There's lots and lots of people that you can go to. You can go and see somebody about meditation. You can go and see somebody about... There's loads and loads of ways of helping you to progress as a human being. You don't need to look at it as the route that we used to, this being as a shrink, and that there's something the matter with you, and everybody will think different of you and think that you're a bit of a lunatic. Those days are gone. When you get an injury in sport, you go and see a physiotherapist, you go and see a doctor. When you poorly in the head, you go and see somebody relevant, and it's exactly the same. There's no shame whatsoever with it whatsoever. But Howard, Rodney, did you want to say something? You had your hand up there.
Yeah, even just to kind of, even if you aren't poorly in the head, it's still good to talk to somebody. Yeah. And then the other two things I was going to say was that to piggyback off of what Harmony and Howard's talking about as far as the sports, they also are seeing sports psychologists as well. So there's different, when you talk about like the top athletes, they see therapists, psychologists, people that specifically are involved in the sport, the mindset of sport. So they do all these things. We don't necessarily see them, but if you look at some of these interviews, they'll tell you'll see a lot of people saying that they saw sports psychologists. Another thing too, I would just give credit to Harmony. She put a documentary in the Voxer. It's called Stutz. It's on Netflix. It may change how you look at therapy, Lee, because the thing that you talked about, this guy is probably the opposite of that kind of therapist. He's I think what he's doing, I don't know in the therapy world or the counseling world, but it seems pretty like groundbreaking what the guy's doing in that. So I would say watch that documentary. It's Stutz, Stutz, and it's Jonah Hill and his therapist. It's a documentary, and I think it's really good. I think you should check that out.
Moving on from that, I've got a friend of mine, Matthew, that I used to live with, and he is one of the leading hypnotherapists in the UK, and he was quite regularly, he was, I think, monthly, going and seeing Chelsea Football Club to get their heads in the right place before a game, during a game, and after a game. And I know that a lot of football teams in the UK are now using hypnotherapists to get people's mind in the right place. Howard, as somebody that lifted weights in the past, being mentally strong, saying to yourself when you step up to the weights that 100K is easy, I'm going to lift this weight. You half won the battle straight away, haven't you, Howard?
Yes, sir. And that's over 95%, I would say, is in the mind. That's right, because the body will quit before the mind will quit before the body does. If you tell yourself, okay, I'm only going to get 2 reps, all of a sudden, magically, that second rep it feels a lot harder than it was the first, or what you were capable of doing. So, yeah, absolutely. I mentioned this before. My cousin, she's a hypnotherapist, and she's in the Dallas area. And when I was in junior high school, I had horrible test anxiety, and I was averaging like maybe a 20 or 30 was my grade in math. I mean, it was horrible. And so I went there, and she, at this time, this is so long ago, they gave you a little audio cassette of it. So anybody that's young who watches this, no, it wasn't on digital. There's no MP3s or anything at the time. And she made a recording of our session, and I would listen to that. And then I ended up graduating high school, and I was like in the math honors club. You know, I had like a 96 or 97 average, you know, getting hundreds on every test or just about every test. And yeah, so it's I think people tend to, or some people would say, I'm not going to generalize, but they tend to discount the capability that our minds and our thoughts have on our reality. You know, it's the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell yourself you can't do it, well, yeah, you're right. You can't do it because you've already told yourself you can't do it. So that's all.
Well done. Yeah. Rounding this up then, basically, I mean, I think what we've discovered, the conclusion this week is that, you know, it's very important not to generalize that all men aren't transparent and they don't show their vulnerabilities. You know, in all worlds, you've got some men that are, some men that aren't. You've got some women that are, some women that aren't. But from what I've seen in my life is I just find that women are more able to open up. They just seem a lot more transparent at times, and they're able to be more vulnerable to the, you know, and that's what I've seen in the past. But guys, what I wanted to say is that, you know, there are ways, there's nothing the matter with being transparent and showing your vulnerability. We need to do it a lot more.
Can I say something real quick as a female?
Go you head, Harmony, please do.
Oh,
There's
shit.
nothing sexier, and I mean this. And I talk to women. I've got a lot of women friends that we've had some deep convos about it. If men only knew how fucking sexy and what a turn on it is when men are vulnerable, they'd be doing a lot more crying, baby. That's all I got to say. They'd be doing a lot more opening up. This whole theory around, you know, women looking at their men like they're not masculine if they open up and get vulnerable. Now, I'm not saying I disagree with the bringing your specific problems to be corrected by your spouse. You know, I wouldn't suggest that. But being vulnerable about how you're feeling is so attractive that I don't think men, you know, and in men's defense, our society doesn't support that. Our society supports you being your way, women are this way, and there's stereotypes and all that stuff. And I agree with what Mark said. Those boundaries and those labels are kind of getting broken down, which is great. And, you know, there's a lot of really sexy, beautiful men on TikTok that are being, you know, that are very masculine and bearded and, you know, all those things, but they're opening up and talking about their mental health. And I think that that's a great thing. But I just took the long way of saying, if men could get themselves into a space, and I know it's not easy, but if they could start working towards getting themselves in a space where they can be vulnerable with their partner, they'd be surprised the reception that they would receive. And I'm not going to go dirty with that, but I'm just saying, you know.
And we'll leave it at that.
I'll save that for the Voxer group.
We've decided as a group that we are going to be making a few changes. And one of the things that we came up with last week, and I think it's a cracking idea, is I think we'll all agree that Harmony's very, very good at getting the best out of us and getting debates going. So every week, with about the last 10, 15 minutes to go, we're going to be doing this from now on. It gives Harmony a chance to bring a topic up, her war cry, we're going to call it that, where she can just bring something to the table, and we leave it at that. Harmony, over to you. Give out your war cry. Unmute your mic first, and then we can hear you.
Sorry.
Not much of a war cry else, is it? It's more like a whimper, war whimper.
I would say it's people being in denial about what's actually going on. And sometimes that's legitimately because they just can't see it. They don't have the ability to see what's going on and how their behavior is potentially affecting the people around them. But it's just like, I guess, not taking personal responsibility for the way you move through the world. Does that make sense?
Sort of. Do you want to break it down a little bit more so that us thick Cornish people down here can understand what you're saying a little bit easier?
I think that the energy that you bring to whatever space you put yourself into every day, whether that's with your family at home or, you know, kind of like to play off of and I won't go into detail, obviously, because it's privacy, but what Lee was venting about this morning. Like, just people taking a personal responsibility for the way their energy and their mood and their emotions have a potential to sway and change the energy of a room.
Right.
I think that it's a lot harder too when you are a person who is trying your best to connect and taking personal responsibility for the way you show up in your relationships and stuff. And so when you get around people who aren't taking personal responsibility, it's almost like, fuck, ignorance is bliss. Because before you get into a space where you are taking personal responsibility for your moods and your emotions, in your relationships and stuff, or even just going to the grocery store, it doesn't matter. When you're ignorant to that, you just kind of, ignorance is bliss. You're just kind of moving through the world and fuck it. You don't really put too much thought into anything. But once you start really connecting with who you are as a person, I'm sure you guys will all give testimony to this. It highlights where other people are a little bit inadequate in that area. And it can be super frustrating. Does that make sense?
So what do you do then when you're in that situation? What advice would you give? What do you do?
What do I do when I'm in a situation where somebody's projecting their shit onto me?
Yeah.
I politely and kindly remove myself.
Yeah.
Especially if it's somebody that I've already set a boundary with and they're just crossing that boundary and they don't seem to understand how their shit's affecting other people. If it's somebody I haven't set a boundary with yet, then I will have a conversation with them, depending on, how relative they are in my life. Is it somebody I just saw at the store, or do I see them a lot? Depends. But I think, again, to circle back around to what we were talking about before, communication is everything. And letting people around us kind of know what our expectations are and setting really firm boundaries. It's not easy, but if we can manage to do that, it really can help our stress levels moving forward.
We all talk about meditation, and I've said this in the past, that from talking to people that do lots of meditation, we all assume that meditation is sitting down cross-legged, but there was a lady that I spoke to, and she said that she does meditation all day. So when somebody is in a room and they're pissing them off, rather than stand there and have a full-on blow at them, turn around, take a few deep breaths, chew yourself out, and then either have a conversation with them or get on out of there. And that's like what I was saying the other day about my uncle. He'd be with his wife, and it would get to a stage where she was whining, saying stuff and staying stuff, and you could see the steam blowing up in his ears. And he would just stand up, he'd go over to the table, he'd pick up a cigar, and he'd go down the garden, he'd have a smoke, and he'd come back, and they'd talk about it. Or that would be the end of it. Sometimes the worst thing you could do is just blow off, all guns blazing, bang in the room, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we gotta pick our battles as people. Where's the juice worth the squeeze?
Does anybody want to make a comment there about Harmony's war cry? Do you want to say anything, Lee? I must admit, mate, you do look there tonight like you're like. I just feel like you look a bit like a pressure cooker there tonight. Like you're gonna, you just want to explode. That's the impression that I'm getting there.
No, I'm taking it all in, mate. Taking it all in.
That's fair play.
Her Harmony's term, her phrase there, "Pick your battles." It's a great. Yeah. Is it really worth getting all upset over, or is this?
Yeah.
When it's perpetual, it gets on your fucking tits.
I'm there with you, buddy.
Yeah, I get you there.
So, guys, what are we going to be talking? What we're going to be talking about in our Voxer group this week. Then, what do you think would be a good thing for us as individuals to be chatting? We've had 2 good weeks now where we've been stale. We've picked it up a little bit. What do you think would be a good thing for us to talk about this week, and talking about on next week's episode? Silence is golden. The world is great. There is nothing the matter.
How about something in relation to Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is coming up. And
what the fuck's Thanksgiving? That's some you weirdos doing it. What is it?
Okay, so scratch everything I just said. Rewind all that and delete. I was gonna say, like, really just kind of going back to basics and gratitude. Because for me,
Good one.
I don't buy into the whole, it's kind of antiquated the way Thanksgiving came about. It's kind of dark. It's kind of scary. So I don't really buy into that, but it does usually bring up the concept of having gratitude. And I don't think you can talk about gratitude enough. So as cheesy as it is and as simplistic as it may sound, I think that us coming in with some gratitude would be a real good switching of gears. And maybe if we come in next Monday, a week from today, and talk about what we're thankful for in our life and where, have our conversation be more from an abundance standpoint rather than a scarcity standpoint. Like, what do we each have individually in our lives that's super amazing, that really is our gifts, as opposed to what are we seeking and what do we need?
I've got a book, a diary that I am going to start journaling in, and it's a strange sort of book, and I will post it up in our group, and I'll bring it into the group next week. And every day you write down the mood that you feel when you wake up. You write down towards the end of the day something nice that you've done to the world, and you give some gratitude. So you tell, something that's really pleased you and made you feel good about the day. And I like the fact that you're talking about gratitude, even though I at times struggle to come on in the morning and give, it's so easy, isn't it, to say, oh, I am grateful for waking up this morning. Or I am grateful for eating that apple that I've had for my first breath. It's so easy I do find that difficult, to be honest, if you're talking about gratitude. But as well
I think you look at it more on a micro scale, though. That's kind of the point of gratitude practice that I think a lot of people don't get. They think it's just about, I'm thankful for my car. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful. But to really go micro on it, and really look at the bigger picture, not just micro, but look at the bigger picture of so many, how fucking grateful are you that you can get off of this call tonight and go whoop, a couple steps in your nice house and turn a little thing and you've got hot water and you can clean your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of people, more than there's not, that or more than there is, that can't do that. Their whole day consists of hiking to go get a bucket of water. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people don't get that.
But where I was coming from, which I think would be also nice for us to do, right, is rather than coming on and talking about something that we're grateful for, so, something that we've received, wouldn't it also be nice if we came on and said something nice that we've done for somebody else? So you don't have to give a random stranger £10 in the shop, or you don't have to pull up at McDonald's and say, I want to buy the person behind me, that, the person that I want to pay for their meal. It's not all about that. But, just by saying, oh, you look nice today, to your other half, or, just some random person that you see in the street, say, oh, I like your hair. Little things like that makes people feel special, makes them feel nice. And I think at the end of the day, I just don't feel that we do that enough in society. So I think it would be nice if we all done that every day. So we're giving.
I like that idea. That's a great idea.
And perhaps we can come back next week and we talk about the things that we've given out and some of the things that we've received back.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah. Everybody happy with that?
Sounds good. Yeah. It's a good topic. Good topic.
Lee's ready to.
And we'll work in Thanksgiving as well.
What is Thanksgiving shit? What is that all about then? What do you do for Thanksgiving? It just seems another excuse.
Day to give thanks.
Thanks for what?
Just as what was it? The Simpsons. I want to thank for all the food that I had to buy, that you had to work or whatever. So.
Well, can I just say that it's got that shit here in the UK at the moment, that there is now, once upon a time, there was a ration on toilet rolls. Now it's eggs. All the supermarkets have put rations on eggs because we've got bird flu over here, and birds are dying, so eggs are now scarce. That's just what they say.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, over here, they didn't put a ration on it. They just hiked the price up to twice what it was last year for a dozen of eggs.
One thing before we do go, what happened in New York with the snow? Fuck me, I turned on the telly the other day and there's a bloke stood in 50 inches of snow that had fallen just overnight in New York. What's going on? What's the crack? Do tell, people, do tell.
That's
global
upstate
warming.
New York.
Oh,
Upstate New York. Uh-oh.
I
No,
want
that's
to.
upstate New York.
I want to see Rodney on his snowblower. That's what I want to see. I'll pay good money to see that.
No,
Since
I gotta go. There's a dude behind me at the gas pump. I've got no gas, and my battery's about to die on my phone. And I've got a guy behind me that's breathing down my neck to get to the pump. So I better go.
use the
Do
palm.
something nice for him, Harmony.
Yeah.
I'll
pay-
get out and tell him to back up off me. I'm just kidding.
Get off my bumper, motherfucker! Woohoo!
All right, I love you guys. I'll see you in Voxer.
You take care. You
I
take
was-
care.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Right, now Harmony's gone. We'll round the episode up then. So, guys, has anybody got anything they want to say in the group before we shut the shop and lock the doors and walk off home to our loved ones? Give some gratitude and some love.
It's a good combo. It was a good conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. We're all done, guys? We're all done?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I like
Well-
where we left off at. So
Thank you very much for all the people that's participated in the show there, Marta. Thank you for putting down your comments. Thank you for all the people that's watched. If you've liked what we've put here this evening and this afternoon, wherever you are in the world, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't done also already. And don't forget to, share the love. Tell the people around the world about Five Deep and share the link to people. And join us next week where we will be talking about the things that we've received, the gratitude, and the things that we've given. And I'm looking forward to this episode next week because I want to see what Rodney is going to give to the world and what Howard's going to give to the world, and Lee and Harmony and me. It's going to be an interesting one. So stay safe, guys. Stay classy, and we'll see you. I won't say same time, same place next week, but roundabout that way. So cheers and gone. See you later.